Welcome in. We'll call it a late night Lombardi. We don't usually get started after 9 p.m. on weeknights, but today, special exception. I just had some of the best pizza I've ever had at the Pink Onion in San Francisco. I currently don't have video. It's on my phone, but I haven't downloaded it yet. It's on 14th Street. They're big 49ers fans. There might be a Brock Purdy pizza in the future on the menu. I think there already is one on the secret menu. I'll be sharing some video soon. Pizza and pasta was really good. To warm me up for 49ers intel, Brock Purdy against a very solid Tampa Bay defense. Thursday Night Football, by the way, was a dud. I know I come on normally right after the game. Today I was eating pizza over at the Pink Onion, but Joe Burrow getting hurt, then that didn't look very good, man. Just clutching his wrist, non-contact. I guess there was some kind of sleeve he had been spotted wearing before this game. Jake Browning, who I covered in college for Washington, he came on for Cincinnati, but by that point, this game was supposed to be a really good one. It was supposed to be better than Bears-Panthers last week, but the injuries suck, man. Injuries suck. And the Bengals, what are they now? 5-5, last place in the AFC North. Jeez, it's going to be tough to climb out of this if Joe Burrow isn't healthy immediately. That is a tough division. I think if Cincinnati wouldn't have had those injury issues with Joe Burrow, the different injury, the calf injury earlier in the season, they would have been rolling. To me, that roster healthy, Cincinnati's roster healthy, that's a roster that can challenge for a Super Bowl. Anyway, a roster that can definitely challenge for the Super Bowl is the 49ers roster. It's a big day around these parts. I'm sure that you've seen some of my content already, but if you haven't, make sure you check out the Purdy CMC origin story. This came out on The Athletic today. The key to Christian McCaffrey's initial success with the 49ers, a young backup named Brock Purdy. Yes, it was Brock Purdy, before he was the starting quarterback, who helped Christian McCaffrey cram the 49ers playbook out on that field so he'd be able to play on the Sunday after he was traded. He was traded to the 49ers on Thursday night, like a night like tonight, and he was able to play Sunday, which Kyle Shanahan initially did not think was possible. So anyway, 2,500 words. You're going to get to know the 49ers and the top-rated quarterback in the NFL and the most productive skill position player in the NFL, a dynamic duo. You'll get to know them a whole lot better after you read this piece. But anyway, we're going to be talking about the guy up on the screen, Brock Purdy, and how he's going to match up against this Tampa Bay defense, which is solid. Yesterday, we talked about the Bucs offense, which has been underwhelming with Baker Mayfield at the helm. I don't think Baker's been bad, but he hasn't been explosive. The offense hasn't been explosive. He's avoided sacks. He's avoided giveaways, but he's also generally avoided scoring big points, which is not good. So I don't feel that the 49ers are going to be particularly threatened by the other side of the football, especially since Rachaad White, who is the leading rusher for Tampa Bay, is averaging only 3.3 yards per carry. They don't have much of a run game. So really good opportunity for the 49ers to control game flow on Sunday. But Tampa Bay's defense is going to have something to say about that. The guy up on your screen, he debuted against Tampa Bay's defense last year and lit them up. Trent Williams today said that maybe Tampa Bay underestimated Brock Purdy a little bit in his first career start. Also, Tampa Bay lost Vita Vea early in that game. And Vita Vea, the defensive tackle, is a problem. Big body. California native, by the way, Vita Vea. Northern California native, Vita Vea. Big body on the interior. He got hurt early in the game last year. I think that really derailed the Bucs' defensive game plan. So the 49ers are going to have to account for him. Now, the 49ers' offensive interior has been getting better. The best game, in fact, for the interior offensive line, specifically Jake Brendel and Spencer Burford, was in Jacksonville. Aaron Banks is not going to play again for the 49ers, so it's going to be John Feliciano, who also was good against the Jags. These three guys, Feliciano, Brendel, and Burford, they got their hands full with Vita Vea on the inside. Again, Jacksonville is an above-average defense, and they are number 7 against the run. So they haven't been as good as, say, their Super Bowl year, and I think the defense is eroded a little bit, but the run defense is still really damn good, and that's because Vita Vea is a problem. That's because Antoine Winfield Jr., the safety, he can make plays in coverage. He can crash down toward the line of scrimmage. Don't forget about Shaq Barrett, the edge rusher, who was so good in the Super Bowl when they won against the Kansas City Chiefs, and Levante David, the linebacker. At every single level, Tampa Bay has good players, and that's why they're the number 7 run defense, and that carries over into the number 1 red zone defense, because by being good at run defense, you're probably going to be good at red zone defense, with the pass defense helped out by the tighter quarters of the red zone. So, you talk about Vita Vea. Well, the 49ers have to neutralize him. How do they run the football? Well, make sure that your interior linemen are blocking so that Vita Vea does not blow up plays. And then let Trent Williams do his thing, because Trent Williams is a mismatch against anybody. It's Vita Vea, though, that is the Bucs version of a mismatch against the 49ers. So I think the 49ers are going to be running a lot of sideline to sideline stuff, maybe some trap stuff. Obviously, Brock Purdy has to set the 49ers up with his arm. And even if he does that, he has to be careful for Antoine Winfield Jr., who is going to be in the middle of the field trying to create some trouble. Tampa Bay weaknesses. I don't think that Devin White is particularly good in coverage. He is the second linebacker. Levante David is the first linebacker. And then the corners for this team are not great. So you look at the cornerback situation. Carlton Davis III, he was hurt. He missed last week. And then the other side is Jamel Dean. Both of these guys have allowed their share of yardage into coverage this year. So the 49ers, I think, can look at Brandon Ayuk. They can look at Deebo Samuel, and they could say, you guys can win. You guys can win your matchups on the outside against these outside cornerbacks. And I think that passing to set up the run, if the Bucs decide to crowd the box early in this game, that's going to have to be the key, because Vita Vea, obviously, with a crowded box on top of everything, I think he could dominate this football game. So the 49ers have to make sure that that does not happen against Tampa Bay on Sunday. That being said, again, this Bucs defense, despite being so good against the run, despite being so good in the red zone, they haven't been airtight. Let's not pretend that they've been airtight. There have been weaknesses. The 49ers and Purdy, they're generally good at exposing linebackers in coverage, or a little bit weaker. Devin White is one of those guys. Did you guys see today Jermaine Pratt, who had the interception against the 49ers? The Bengals have good linebackers in coverage. Jermaine Pratt tipped the ball to a receiver. I mean, it was a bad throw from Lamar Jackson, but it went to a receiver who caught it in stride and scored a touchdown. So sometimes that's just how the game goes. For the Bengals today, what a nightmare of a game. Some 2020 49ers vibes for that team, right? They look dominant when they have their quarterback in there, when they're fairly healthy. I know they lost some players before this game, but then the wheels came off despite that dominant glimpse from the Bengals. Literally, as Joe Burrow was throwing a touchdown pass, looks like that's when he aggravated whatever the hell was wrong with his wrist. So that's a nightmare for Cincinnati. Other side of the football, nightmare when Jermaine Pratt, one of the better coverage linebackers in the AFC, knocks down a Lamar, or knocked up a Lamar Jackson pass up into the air. Oh, it wasn't intercepted. It was taken for a Bengals touchdown. What a dud of a game. Baltimore destroys Cincinnati. Steve Wilks today. I know we're talking 49ers offense against the Tampa Bay defense, but this is 49ers intel, so we could talk about everything. And today, 49ers defensive coordinator Steve Wilks had his media session. And if you're wondering what defensive adjustments the 49ers made, well, listen in here, because I think Steve Wilks very, very concisely outlined what the 49ers changed against the Jags to see that resurgent effort.
I hope we all were taking it personal being 0-3. I know I was, and I do agree that those guys were getting criticized. But if you understand and know the game and watch the tape, we got a lot of pressure on the quarterback. So there was different things, yes, probably within the secondary that we could do differently, starting with maybe the calls and allowing those guys at certain times to be a little bit more sticky in their coverage, or as I just talked about this past week, giving a different look, which confuses the quarterback and makes him hold the ball a little longer. And that's all we really need sometimes with the guys that we have up front, is just that second hitch, So, again, it was great to see those guys complement one another.
That extra hitch, so important. So, but you heard Wilks there saying, yeah, the defensive line had been getting criticized, but that was a lot of casual criticism from the casuals, right? That was, Nick Bosa doesn't have enough sacks. What the hell is wrong? Well, what's wrong is nothing with Nick Bosa. It's that the 49ers coverage wasn't living up to what it should be doing. So quarterbacks were able to get rid of the ball too quickly, so pressures weren't turning into sacks. Steve Wilks, I mean, he'd be the first, I would think, to try to defend the defensive backs because he's the guy that came in with a DB background. It was his half of the equation that was failing in the 2 games against Minnesota and Cincinnati. But Steve Wilks owns up to it. He said, we need to do a little bit more on that back end. And what the 49ers did is they threw a ton of disguises in Trevor Lawrence's direction. They confused him. Disguised coverages, maybe even disguised defense in general, surprising defensive alignments in general. Hell, they lined up in a 5-man front. And what it did is it caused doubt in Trevor Lawrence's mind. And that doubt made him hold on to the football a little bit longer, from 2.4 to 2.7 seconds on average. That is a big, big deal. That allowed the 49ers pass rush to hit home. So there, you heard it from the horse's mouth. Steve Wilks talking about the 49ers defensive adjustments. Absolutely fire game from the 49ers defense against Jacksonville. And now they're going to get to face a Tampa Bay offense that, I don't think that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are particularly explosive. They're number 19 in explosive play rate, but they do have Mike Evans. Mike Evans is dangerous at any time whenever you put him out on a football field, even at age 30. They do have Chris Godwin. And Baker Mayfield's playing solid football. So the 49ers have to dot the I's and cross the T's to make sure everything works in this football game. All right, so I promised you that I was going to show you the pizza. Well, I will show you pizza. Dinner from tonight, the pink onion in San Francisco. This is what they call the magic mushroom pizza. It was awesome. They still have a Jimmy G on the menu, pizza-wise there. They say that they have a Brock Purdy on the secret menu. 49ers fans run this place, so you have to go check it out. It's on 14th Street in the Mission. They have a Joe Cool pizza as well. But the magic mushroom at Pink Onion in San Francisco, they've got pasta on the menu as well. It was really, really good. And I know I talk more about Mexican food, and sometimes I'll throw some dumplings in there. Sometimes I'll throw some fried cheese from Prague in there. Well, this was the real deal, kind of like Brock Purdy. I even had a good salad there. I had an endive salad. Could probably share that too. But check out the Pink Onion in the Mission on 14th Street. I actually was at the Ravens Bar, Standard Deviant Brewing Company, but that game was such a dud that I was like, okay, I'm going to go to this pizza spot that I've wanted to go to for a long time, and it was really good. So anyway, that's been 49ers Intel. Brock Purdy against the solid Tampa Bay defense. Get your questions ready. We're going to move on to the Q&A portion. Earlier today in a video, I mentioned the 49ers worked out Jason Verrett, the cornerback. So that's interesting. He was with the Houston Texans on their practice squad for about 5 weeks. Remember, at about this time last year, Jason Verrett tore his Achilles, and he's been one of the most injury-cursed players in NFL history. 2 torn Achilles, 2 torn ACLs, and other injuries in his career. But he's also one of the more talented cornerbacks to ever suit it up. And I think that's fair to say. The fact that Jason Verrett, on the wrong side of 30, is still being seriously considered to make NFL rosters despite all of those season-ending injuries, that speaks to his level of talent. 49ers have a pair of good cornerbacks in Charvarius Ward and Deommodore Lenoir, but they're also starting to tinker and mess with moving Lenoir inside the play slot, which means they need to bring Ambry Thomas into the outside, which essentially tells us you can never have enough quality cornerbacks in the NFL, because the more that you have, the more freely you can rotate guys, and you could do machinations like the 49ers are currently executing. So in the interest of adding more depth, adding some talent to the team, they're obviously interested in what Jason Verrett can bring to the table. The fact that he stayed with Houston for 5 weeks on the practice squad, I think is promising news. A year coming off that second Achilles tear. He's had 2 ACL tears, 2 Achilles tears. But the fact that he's stuck with a staff that obviously the 49ers are familiar with for a full 5 weeks, less than a year removed from that injury. And the fact that the 49ers called him up right after and said, hey, come work out for us, because I'm sure that there is some contact between the 49ers and the Texans staff, since D'Amico Ryans and some of the former San Francisco assistants are over there in Houston. The fact that all that happened, I think, is a fairly promising sign for Jason Verrett. So he might be in a good spot, and the 49ers will continue to monitor that, and will obviously continue to monitor what the 49ers do. All right, 49ers Q&A. Let's go. Good questions. The pizza was indeed heavenly. I agree. I loved it so much that I'll put it back up on the screen one more time. It was really, really, really damn good. The Pink Onion on 14th Street. Dawn asks, are the 49ers better on the road or better at home? I think they're better at home. And in small samples, you might think that they're better on the road because they kicked the Steelers' ass and they go and they destroyed the Jacksonville Jags. But I think a team would rather not travel. I think a team would rather have that home crowd roaring on third down. That being said, the 49ers have home crowds roaring even in Jacksonville on third down. So maybe there is something about them playing on the road, but I think they would still rather get that home field advantage with the number 1 seed in the playoffs to play these games at Levi's Stadium. Good question. Yeah, I haven't talked to the Pat McAfee guys in a while. You're right. I forgot about that. Maybe soon. That'd be good. I love coming on the Pat McAfee show, but they're owned by ESPN now. I wonder if they have something in their contract to where I can't come on anymore. That would be on their end. I don't know. We'll see. But I've been on several times, and it's been a lot of fun being on Pat's show. If the 49ers play Niner football on both sides of the football, they're going to win easily. I tend to agree with that. Will the 49ers beat the Bucs? That video is coming out tomorrow. I have not tried Taco Tijuana in Fresno, but I got to go check that out next time I am in the 559. Is Oliver a good matchup for Mike Evans? No, I don't think so. Mike Evans is a taller receiver, yes, but I think he's got a little too much change of direction for Isaiah Oliver. Mike Evans is one of the great underrated players in the National Football League. He is an outside wide receiver. He'll line up anywhere, but he's an outside guy, and I don't think Isaiah Oliver. He's a guy for Charvarius Ward. Ward is in man coverage, is going to have to face Evans. Other side, Diamond Lenore against Godwin. Who knows if that mixes up a little bit in zone, but we'll see how it all works out for the 49ers against Tampa Bay's receivers. What's my opinion on the Kansas City Eagles game on Monday Night Football? Well, I think Kansas City, I think but both of these teams have difficult schedules, but Philadelphia, they're about to enter what might be a defining 4-game stretch, at least as far as the 1 seed is concerned in this season. First, they play Philadelphia. Then they play first they play Kansas City. Sorry, Philadelphia doesn't play Philadelphia. Sometimes they beat themselves, though, so I guess that can happen. First, they play Kansas City. Then they play Buffalo. Then they play the 49ers. And then they play Dallas. So it's a tough 4-gamer for the Eagles. Chris appreciates the channel because we're factual and not opinion. Yes. We stick with the facts. We add context to the facts. We then take the facts and draw conclusions based on them, but they're factually based conclusions. They're not just random opinions. Eddie, everyone liked this damn video. Hell yeah. Thanks, Eddie. Will we see Luter and Womack anytime soon? Well, they're both in the windows to be activated from IR, but I don't think that the 49ers have any injuries right now. They're remarkably healthy, actually, to fit those guys in. So 2 weeks remain on the activation windows, and I think it's much more likely that we see a veteran in Samuel Womack this year than Darrell Luter. I think Darrell Luter and Robert Beal, 2 rookies who have their injury return windows open right now. I think when you look at both of those guys, the 49ers would have to have some injuries here in the next couple of weeks to justify activating them. Samuel Womack, I think he's a veteran. You need a little bit of help at nickel. You needed a little extra help at that cornerback position. I think he's somebody that you find a way to activate. But I think there's a difference between players that you've seen and players who are rookies. Is Jalen Moore a better right tackle than McKivitz? Well, in 2021, Moore was ahead of McKivitz on the depth chart, and then the 49ers benched him in Jacksonville, and they decided that McKivitz was the better backup tackle option. So since then, McKivitz has been higher up on the pecking order than Moore. Can that flip-flop back around? We'll see. Colton McKivitz has been back out of practice the past 2 days, by the way, despite the knee and ankle issues. Pink Onion's awesome. Yeah, and the Japanese place, I forgot what it was called. It starts with an R. It is right by there. But yeah, Pink Onion was really, really good to the point where I just like putting this back up on the screen. I mean, these guys knew what they were doing as far as the pizza went. My first time there, and I was very happy with it. A little bit of a 49ers themed menu. Smash the like button. Yes. Does McCaffrey rush for a touchdown or catch one? I think he does both against Tampa Bay. Feliciano was really damn good last week. Good pass blocking scores, good run blocking scores. Veteran, didn't slip up. Really, I mean, the 49ers have some quality linemen on this team. I think this offensive line is evolving, developing in the right direction. Bucs O-line is good, says Kelly Medina. Yeah, well, I mean, they've got Tristan Wirfs at left tackle. Gadecki, the right tackle's good too. I don't think that they're strong on the interior. I think Cody Mouch is his name, the right guard. He out of North Dakota, the North Dakota State, the Bison, Trey Lance's alma mater. He's given up 20 pressures, so I think the 49ers may be able to work with Javon Hargrave on the interior. But for the most part, yes, good tackles, decent offensive line for Tampa Bay. They don't give up a whole lot of negative plays. They don't deliver a whole lot of splash plays, but they're pretty good at avoiding the negative plays. A high floor, low ceiling offense under a veteran Baker Mayfield. No, you did not miss a Womack update. He's healthy. The 49ers just don't have room right now to activate anybody, so they'll probably wait the entirety of the 3-week window that they have for that. Go without one in the playoffs, asks Mark. McCaffrey or Purdy? We saw this last year, and I could put this back up on the screen since we're going to be talking about the dynamic duo. Last year, we saw that Christian McCaffrey makes life easier, but that Brock Purdy makes life possible. I think it's as simple as that. I think that the quarterback position, just by definition in the NFL, by how the rules are set up, by how the sport is played, quarterback is the most important position. Brock Purdy is the most efficient quarterback in football. Christian McCaffrey is the most versatile, productive skill position weapon in football. So you can say that McCaffrey is a better, more explosive player, but in a collective sport, he is doing a different job, and the job of quarterback is more irreplaceable. We saw it in the NFC Championship game last year. You lost Purdy, it went downhill really quick. Now, maybe it won't go downhill as quickly if you're going to Sam Darnold versus Josh Johnson. That being said, we don't have that data yet. We haven't seen Sam Darnold play an actual meaningful game time for the 49ers. %68 completion percentage. Yes, for Brock Purdy. People love asking about Mason carries. I'm sure he'll get some carries if the 49ers take care of business, but Christian McCaffrey is their best back. He's their best receiving back. He's their best short yardage back. And if you're trying to win games, well, you're going to give the football to the best back. When they give it to Elijah Mitchell, I think they've struggled a bit because they're telegraphing run whenever Mitchell gets a handoff. Christian McCaffrey is the one back on this team that you don't telegraph run or pass because he could do anything. He's a credible threat both through the air and on the ground. But for some reason, people seem to really, really be intrigued by Jordan Mason carries. I don't think the 49ers are nearly as intrigued by it, but he is solid depth for this team at the moment. We can look at everybody's schedule and speculate till the cows come home, but I think the smart play is to just sit back and see what happens. The Lions technically have an easier schedule. The Eagles have a harder one. But as we saw last year with the 49ers, just go out there, play hard. And if you have a good team and you're clicking, you can win on a week-by-week basis, and stuff will sort itself out. All right, everybody go check out the article. It's up there. I'm going to leave a little bit early right now because you can go to the description, click on this piece, take the free trial if you need to. You don't have to pay for it, and you will have yourself one of your most exciting 49ers reads in a while. The battery of Christian McCaffrey and Brock Purdy, the origin story. Do not do anything else until you read this piece. Everybody, thanks for joining. We'll talk to you very soon.